So right here on the stage, I would like to welcome Yishai. Yishai is the CTO at Beeri. He likes to solve problems, and that is why he was so fascinated when Logo was released back in the 80s. So maybe we'll share some insight about that. But he's here to talk about a DORA metrics adventure where we're deciphering engineering changes.
Thank you, everyone. Great being here. So my name is Yishai. I'm another Mediterranean speaker here. And as mentioned, I'm the CTO at LinearB. We are a SaaS service for development productivity, developer experience. And I'm going to talk about navigating the rough seas of change in engineering, and how to use metrics and DORA metrics and other metrics to navigate changes. Now, a lot of what I'm going to talk about is, thinking about engineering leaders, thinking about CTOs, VPs of engineering, group managers, but almost everything can also be applied to more local changes in a team, in a specific squad. Everyone here has to navigate change in many ways, and the ability to find and use the data to help support and navigate those changes, I think, applies across the board. So I'm going to talk about what is change in engineering and show some of the monsters that you may encounter in your odyssey. Talk a little about how to navigate this with data, what's the purpose and the role of having data. DORA metrics is one good example. I'll talk a little about what it is. How to use that to navigate. We'll see some examples of a framework to navigate changes using metrics. And then I'm going to talk a little about some hazards, some risks that you may be facing in that journey of how do I use metrics, how do I use data as part of my engineering organization. And then if there's time, some Q&A. So change is a pretty constant thing in engineering. Think about the organization, the way the teams are set up, especially in startups, but also in large companies. And we've had the great talk in the beginning about the very large projects. If you're not changing, you will fail. The project will fail, the company will die. The reality around us is changing so much, there is no way to succeed without change. And this can come from external pressures. The company may be acquired, or acquiring, or restructuring in other ways. There's competition. There's changes in the market. There's internal changes. Roughly every 6 months, typical engineer organizations have to change their structure, especially if it's in a growing company or a growing market. What's worked for me when I was selling to 100 customers doesn't work anymore when I'm selling to 500 customers, or when I have 30 engineers or 100 engineers. So change is always there. People change, obviously. People grow. People change what they care about, change their skills. And there's obviously technology, right? Gen AI. Look at the huge change this is already bringing us. Technology is changing. Tool sets are changing. Fads are changing. So change is pretty much the only constant thing, and that is very true for software engineering organizations. A few of these are examples of the monsters of change that you will probably always meet as part of the life cycle of an engineering organization. So there's the organization change. Something typically from outside, but not always. Something is changing. There is an M&A. There is a need to do a RIF. We are doing reorgs. We are moving from teams to squads to other team models. Many ways, many different surprises that can come your way, but they're all about changing the way we are organizing our work, our reporting structure, sometimes even our business goals. And that is a huge vector of change that we have to be able to work with, hopefully manage or navigate. The sirens of new tech. There's always the new thing. engineers want to use the new technology, the new programming language, the new stack, the new way of deploying, the new way of running, serverless, microservices, back to monolith. There's always changes in what is available to me, in the tool set, in what is popular, in what people want to try and use. Gen AI is another buzzword that is a good representative of a very material change in how we work, how we code, how we write tests, and so on. So when do I choose what? How do I apply some of that technology change, but manage that through understanding and having visibility with metrics? And I put an example of firefighting. Firefighting is not a change directly, right? We always have those examples of I'm currently fighting the quality monster. There's a lot of fires. Production is down. We have to, and the way to get out of that is make a change, right? Just fixing the next bug is not enough. So this is a great example of where the current reality is not sustainable. I need to make a change. Typically, after a lot of pain, after a lot of scars, we are deciding to make a change. Now, again, that is a change that we want to navigate similar to the other changes to make sure we are successful. These are just some of the monsters. I'm sure there's many more, but you get the idea. It's a rough sea out there. So when you go to your adventure, you're traveling, you're sailing the sea, and you know about all these changes and monsters and storms, you need some tools to help you navigate. And this talk is going to be about using metrics. It's going to be about DORA metrics, not just DORA metrics, to navigate those changes. And I'm going to talk about the 4, if you like, pillars or principles in a kind of a framework of how to use data and metrics to understand and navigate change. So the first one is about the need. Can the metrics, can the information I'm collecting, can the data that I'm seeing help me understand if a change is actually needed? Do I have to proactively search for that change? In many cases, the data can tell me you need to change something, or a change is imminent. Once I have started that change, and there's a lot of moving parts in how to manage change. I'm not going to talk about those, communication and culture aspects, but a change is not a binary thing. It's not a 0 to 1 thing. So adoption is a word for how do I even know that the change is happening? Is it happening across the board where I need it? Is it happening just in pockets but delayed in others? So this is about, is this thing actually going on? Impact. I'm making a change, or hopefully the organization is making a change to get some outcome, to get some output to improve in some fashion. So the impact is about measuring, is it helping me? Is the change doing what I hoped it would do for me? How is it helping me and the organization? And we'll talk a little about what I should care about in terms of what is better. And finally, risk. Every change may help me in one area and maybe present a risk or a setback in other areas. So what should I be watching for? As I navigate this, as I see the good impact, there's good adoption, there's good impact, am I getting dinged in other places? So what should I be watching for? How do I reduce the risk that the change is bringing with it? A little about the history, very quick timeline of how the world in our industries is looking at engineering metrics. So once upon a time, there was no visibility. We just wrote code. There was no metrics, no ways to measure what we are doing. I still worked in the days of no version control and no CD. You FTP to a server or something like that. Then came the need to measure stuff. So there were, initial wave of output metrics. Let me count the number of commits, the lines of code, the story points delivered. Many easy to measure items, data points that were focused on by, output, typically focused on individuals. But that's what was easy to measure. So people started using these, and you can see, research from the 80s and 90s about lines of code, number of comments in my code, and so on. We've all moved on from that, and the next step represents, oversimplified, I would call it DORA. DORA is a, who's heard about DORA metrics here? Okay, so everyone, or a lot of people already know about this, coming from the Accelerate book, and DORA is now a research body owned by Google. But it's basically a set of very well-known, like 4 metrics that helps understand both velocity and quality in DevOps, and are now a kind of a code name in the industry for measuring engineering in a better way. So there's DORA, there's SPACE, there's additional frameworks getting added, but DORA is the most well-known one. And I'm putting this as a placeholder for all those metrics that have shifted from focusing on output to focusing on the behaviors and the process, understanding bottlenecks in how the teams are working to deliver value through improved code base all the way to production. And that's, I would say, becoming pretty much a household name for engineering organizations. You want to measure, where do you start? Something like DORA. And then the next step, this is the market and the industry around this is now shaping up. Gartner is calling this software engineering intelligence platforms. So LinarB, where I work, is one of those platforms, is about taking the metrics, but also introducing automation around them and the whole workflows that can help you utilize them in your day-to-day for a variety of questions that engineering leaders are facing. So that's the journey that this world has gone through. And thinking about the change and how, like navigating change, but now double-clicking into, I would say, 2 types of data, 2 types of questions that every engineering leader, and I think by extension every engineer and every practitioner in the field should be thinking about. One is running a tight ship. I have metrics that let me know if my sales are well adjusted, if my rowing team is balanced, everything is working efficiently. These are dev productivity and efficiency metrics. DORA is in this box, and it's helping me to understand that everything is working efficiently. I've removed bottlenecks or identified them, and I am not wasting time. And the other type of visibility and metrics and data that should always be on in your focus is the business alignment. I have a great ship. Everything is efficient, but where am I going? So am I going to the right place, to where the business cares about? And this is typically looking at 2 questions. How much am I able to invest in those key initiatives, the key projects that the business cares about? Am I investing enough or the right amount in those projects? And what is my investment profile? Am I building new value? Am I just firefighting and keeping the lights on? So the mix of my investment in my org and in the projects lets me understand if I'm going in the right direction and adding value to the company, to the business. So now I'll start to double click into those 3 examples, the 3 kinds of monsters, and show, even like in a touch, how we can use metrics, DORA metrics and others, to understand the different questions. So if I'm looking at the sirens of new tech, for example, and I'll focus on Gen AI, which is a great example, is who's using Copilot here for their day-to-day work? Are there Gen AI tools for writing code, assisted code? Yeah, pretty much everyone. And that's what we're also seeing across our customers. We've done a lot of research. Everyone is trying it out. It's the new cool thing. Everyone wants in. There's a huge promise. But people are asking, is it giving me the ROI? Is it actually living up to all the promises? In a serious business that is now trying out a new technology has to be able to understand, is it actually doing what how much is it helping me? How is it changing my work, and also what are the risks? So if I go from top, I've skipped the need part, because in engineering, a lot of times the change is coming from bottom up. Developers want to try the new thing. It doesn't even matter if it's needed or not, it's going to happen. So, but if we have decided or management has caught up. Okay, they're using Copilot. Maybe I manage this. So adoption. Let me understand. Is it actually getting used? So can I count the pull requests that are getting help from Copilot or other tech? If I'm introducing a new pipeline, a new CI/CD pipeline, I can look at the numbers and say this is actually happening for a third of the org, or 90% of my org is already using this new tech, and the adoption should go up for this change to be happening across the board. So PR counts, merge rates, and similar, these are basic metrics, but they really help me if I can start comparing. I can understand the adoption. Now the impact, that's a key question. So I can look at things like cycle time. That's a DORA metric, lead time for change. Is the new technology helping me move faster? Is it helping me get my code written, reviewed, merged, deployed faster? This could be a new programming language, or a new database, or a new deployment strategy, or metaphor, or Gen AI. But cycle time is one of the metrics that should be improved by using new tech. That's a great goal to look for. So can I measure that and see that it's trending in the right direction? Am I able to deploy more frequently? Part of the big message in DORA is that you should be able to deploy frequently. The more frequently you deploy, the faster you learn from the field, from the changes that you actually put in production, or in a test loop. If you're able to deploy faster and more frequently, there's gains. So is this new tech helping me? And then there's the risk. While I'm doing this change and everything is working great, should I watch for things that could be damaged? And I'll look at the Gen AI example. PR size. We all know that pull request size or batch size is a great leading indicator of being able to move fast. If your pull requests are huge, you will move slow. Gen AI writes its own code. It's very easy to write huge PRs, right? So that's a very important piece of risk to look for. Is this new tool or new technology or new way of working harming my small batch size? I need to track that, otherwise I'm going to be blind. Cycle time is great, or other impact is great, adoption is high, but look at those PRs. Look at my pickup and review time. Maybe I'm creating a lot of code, but no one is available to review because I have a shortage on people that are versed in the new technology, or I have a bottleneck. Only these 2 engineers know how to review this code because this is new programming language no one in my organization is aware of or has good skills in. And so on, quality. The message here is mostly don't only look at what's good, look for and have a plan for understanding the risk and put those measurements in place so that you're protecting yourself and managing that risk, which change will always bring. This is an example of a dashboard that helps me monitor Copilot usage. So it's both about adoption with number of PRs. And you can see where we are showing in the blue line the pull requests that got assisted by Copilot. This is where developers got assistance in writing code versus all the others. So I can look at adoption trends and compare them. I can look at my review time or my PR size. The PR size for the Copilot PRs is much larger than the base set. So that's an example of tracking adoption, tracking impact, and tracking risk. Now I have a way to be smart about how I navigate this, and maybe invest efforts in protecting my hind from the risks that this change is bringing me. We're looking at the firefighting example. So the need here, there's some numbers that can help me understand if I need to make a change around my quality. So MTTR and CFR are 2 of the DORA metrics around like how fast do I find and fix errors and how stable is my deployment. I can count escape defects, understand how many defects are actually found in the field and impacting my customers or my users. And I can look at the percentage of investment in KTLO, that's keeping the lights on. If I have a good mechanism and a good system for understanding where my investment is going, where my developers' time is actually spent, Now I can look at, are we spending a lot of time just keeping the system working, stable, which is typically firefighting. I'll jump to impact. When I have made a change, for example, let's invest in refactoring areas. So that's going to be, well, even in adoption, I can measure the percentage. Am I growing my investment in infrastructure, platform, refactors, other things that are designed to improve quality long-term and help me move from firefighting to building? So am I actually doing this? Maybe I've decided to make a change, but nothing's happening because people are still busy firefighting. So understanding the percentage of investment in those areas and is it growing lets me know that the change is happening, it's not just a decision. And the impact should be a lower investment in KTLO over time and all the other metrics from the need side, right? The things that told me I need to make a change should be improving. And then on the risk, I should make sure that I'm still investing enough in new value. Not all of my work is happening in refactoring and platform because I could be rewriting my system forever. Developers love to do that. And that I'm still watching the allocation. How much am I investing in the key projects, the key product lines or features or capabilities that are bringing me business? And not losing sight of the big picture even while I make this change to help with firefighting or slay the dragon. I'm going to skip the org change because I'm short in time. And I'm going to touch briefly on some warnings. You're selling this using metrics. There are some things or anti-patterns that you should be aware of and try to avoid. So the first is to avoid using metrics or flying blind or sailing blind. Use the data. Really, this is now the 21st century. Using data, using metrics is your first step. Don't be shy of doing that. On the flip side, don't measure everything. Don't try to do like 0 to everything at once. There's a lot of metrics out there. Trying to capture everything, so they have this huge matrix of all the moving parts, like a spaceship control panel, it's not going to work. So focus. Find a few metrics that make high impact and help you with navigating the specific change and manage with those. And then you can slowly add some more as you are growing into this mindset of using metrics. Measuring the wrong things, right? Lines of code, comments, commits. Do you want more lines of code or more comments? Yeah, I can give you a lot of comments. So understanding what to measure, and there's a lot of good work in the industry. DORA represents a lot of that, of measuring what's right and not what's easy. The motivation. I talked about measuring to help navigate a change, but there's other ways or other motivations to use data and measurements. Do I want to stack rank my developers and send home the bottom half in some metric that happens to be easy to measure? Having the right motivation is both will get you the right results, but also help you with the culture issues or problems of introducing metrics. So think about your motivations. Measuring without context. I have a number. What does it mean? So context is both about understanding a trend. This number is improving, it's going in the right direction, so that's a good impact of a change, or it's going in the wrong direction, that's a risk. But context also comes from benchmarks, from understanding, oh, this number, that's actually pretty good in my industry. This is not an area that I'm like really behind. Or this area, yeah, I need to focus on. So having benchmarks, as you see below here, we have published industry benchmarks around all of our metrics. So am I in the elite band? Am I in the needs focus band? This helps me navigate and understand what the metrics mean to me. And then the final thing is about just measuring. If all you do is visit a dashboard with numbers every 3 or 4 weeks, that's not going to really help you do anything. It's not going to help you manage a change. It's not going to help you improve. So there has to be some action or some step coming out of the fact that I've took some numbers. If I'm looking at adoption, what am I doing with a number that tells me adoption is stalling? Am I trying to push? Do I have a goal around this? Am I trying to increase adoption? If another number tells me about a risk that is materializing due to a change, what am I doing about this? Do I have automations that help me fight this? Do I have an action? So measuring is not enough, and including the developers in the solution is key to making or achieving success with those numbers. We talked about this a little at the beginning. If I'm only measuring the engineering side, the performance, the productivity, I may have a very fine-tuned ship or sports car, but is it going in the right way? So always have this balance of measuring not just the engineering machine, but also the business side of the house. Where are we going? Are we working on the right things? And this is it. Invite you to take a look at our industry benchmarks or start your own engineering metrics program. And if there's any questions, happy to take.
All right, all right. If there is any question, we may have time to only take one. Somebody has a question? Yeah, sounds good.
Hi, thanks. What metrics and what way do you use for determining investment in KTLO, investment in tech debt? Like how do you collect that data? That was one of the points you made in the middle, and I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah, so there's a few layers here, but if you look at the typical data sources for collecting that kind of data, you want to look at your Git systems, understanding the actual dynamics of every pull request, every branch, what's going on, how long are things taking. And you want to fetch information from your project management system, Jira is a code name, to understand the business context. And now you can start layering those signals to understand, first of all, the amount of work going into the different tasks. This is typically going to be a lot organized by the Jira tickets or the Jira hierarchy. But the amount of work is a signal that you can deduce from all the activity signals in both Jira and Git. Now, if you're the second layer is categorizing. So, what is KTLO? Some of our customers have a field. They actually categorize the Jira items to say this is KTLO, this is new value. Others, they have some rules. So you can say, oh, bugs that were found in the field and are, of the highest priority, I consider that KTLO. Vulnerability fixes of some level, that's KTLO. But a new feature would be new value, or epic work would be new value. So you can use rules, you can use existing categorization, but the idea is that there's a lot of work, categorize it in a meaningful way, understand the amount of actual effort going into that work, that's not story points. And then you have this picture of, okay, my percent of investment in KTLO is such and such. And it doesn't have to be exact to the second decimal point. You're looking at the trend. So that's the signal that you need.
Thank you.
I'm here until the end of the day, so happy to get more questions async. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Yishai.